What has your experience been with Zoom lately? A few days ago, I published an article at Forbes suggesting that maybe Zoom had lost its frictionless mission. Every speech that I do is customized for the audience, but in almost every one that talks about a frictionless experience, an effortless experience, I include one case study of a company that disrupted an industry in the face of much bigger, much richer competitors. During the pandemic, one brand became synonymous with video calls, video conferencing. And of course, that was Zoom. Suddenly, we are all on Zoom calls. We're wearing a Zoom shirt. And interestingly enough, this was not just a pandemic phenomenon. In the years leading up to the pandemic, Zoom was already accelerating past huge competitors, companies like Cisco, Microsoft, Google. How did this startup do it? Well, I attribute it to its mission statement: make communications frictionless. This is one of the best mission statements for any company that I have ever seen. It provides perfect clarity to every single person who works at Zoom. If you are going to change the customer experience in any way, whether you're a designer, an app developer, a lawyer, anything, you have to ask yourself, will this change help or hinder the company's mission? Will it make it easier or not? And if the answer is not, then you'd better find something else to do. I compared that mission statement with an old one I found on a third-party site for Cisco, which talks about shaping the future of the internet and creating unprecedented value for all their stakeholders. Nice sentiment, but this really doesn't provide any clarity to a Cisco developer who's going to change the user interface in some way. Will that change create unprecedented value? Will it shape the future of the internet? I don't know, but probably not. Now here's the good news for Zoom. Nobody really knew what would happen after the pandemic when suddenly we could all meet in person again, and Zoom managed to maintain their high revenue levels after that, although at a somewhat slower growth pace, but it didn't fall into a hole the way some people thought that it might. But now lately, I've noticed a change in Zoom, a little bit more friction in my user experience. Not long ago, I was preparing to do an online speech for a company, and I connected, I thought, in plenty of time. I opened up my Zoom app, and what did I find? I had been logged out inexplicably. I had to log in, and of course, the app doesn't remember your login information. It wouldn't autofill for me, so I looked it up, and I logged in, and they said, okay, fine, now we're going to send you an authorization code. Well, I'm not sure what happened here, but I got into some kind of a loop with that, where I kept entering codes, them not working, entering another code that they sent, not working, until finally I got locked out. I finally got into the meeting late using my phone and another login. The slide presentation didn't work properly. It was basically a disaster, not the kind of professional look that I'm going for and just about always achieve. Now, I thought maybe it was just me that was having difficulties with Zoom, but in fact, my friend Peter Ramsey, who is a user experience expert in the UK, his website is builtformars.com, which I encourage you to check out. It's a great place to learn about user experience. He did a teardown on Zoom's experience as well as a couple of its big competitors. And what he found was interesting. The first thing Peter points out is something that he considers to be a dark pattern, something that manipulates the user into a behavior that favors the company, but not necessarily is the best thing for the user. In this case, they make it easy to launch the app with a big button, but they hide the option to open in your browser in very small type. Chances are I would not have gotten into that doom loop that I described had I just gone into my browser, which would log me in just fine. Instead, it was a disaster. And Peter also notes that to get into the meeting via the browser, Zoom requires at least twice as many, or even 3 times as many clicks as their competition. He points out that with millions and millions of users on Zoom every day, this should be as optimized as a Rolls-Royce is for comfort, but it's not. He points out some in-meeting friction as well. If you try and share your screen as a guest, you may find that that's been disabled. All you get is an error message. There's no solution for you to turn on sharing or that prompts the host to turn on sharing. It just sort of stalls there. And Peter points out that under some conditions, like a somewhat narrower screen display, important options can be buried under menus, while less important ones are still visible. He points out that, for instance, on a smaller screen, you could have a meeting with no participants. There's nobody in there while you are talking, but you wouldn't see that because the number of participants is hidden. A colleague of mine, after I published the Forbes article, pointed out that he had been trying to get into chat in another meeting he was in, and he couldn't find the chat button. Why? It was buried in a menu. If for some reason you can't get into a meeting, they don't give you a solution, they give you a bug report to fill out. Not really the behavior that most users would want. Now, fast forward to just yesterday when I ran a little experiment myself. I wanted to see what the Zoom interface was like at that moment. So I opened up the app and, of course, found that I wasn't logged in. I had to log in, supply my login information. So I went to my phone, got that info, logged in successfully, I thought, but then it says, wait, we have to update. Not, would you like to update now or later? Just, there's one option on that screen, update. And it goes on, gives you this whole list of wonderful things that the update contains, including a new Zoom icon, Swedish language support. Really? I just want to get into the meeting. And then to cap off the experience, when the update's finally done, it tells me that my login didn't work and I had to try again. So I finally did log in. Now all this was so out of character with what I thought Zoom's mission was. I decided to check out to see their site, to see if anything had changed. And by golly, they have a new, different mission on their website. Gone is the frictionless mission. Now they are one platform delivering limitless human connection. That sounds wonderful, limitless human connection. But what guidance, what clarity does that provide to people who work at Zoom? Again, the web designer, the app developer, the compliance person, the security czar. If they're going to change the customer experience in some way, will they be delivering limitless human connection? Who knows? In fact, Zoom even does something kind of strange. They seem to have a backup mission statement that is borrowed from another Z company's Appos, which is delivering happiness to their stakeholders. Again, this is a good thing to say, okay, we want our customers and our team members and so on to be happy, but what kind of clarity does this provide about their customer experience, even about their employee experience? I think it's time for Zoom to go back to their original mission. They may have declared victory on that and figured they could move on to something more grandiose, but obviously it's not working for everybody. For Zoom and every other company, they will not be successful until they create a culture that's focused on eliminating friction, making things easier, a frictionless customer experience, a less effortful employee experience. Easier is better. Easier is better for your customers. Easier is better for your team. And easier is better for you.